Welcome to Tactical Reviews for a look at the MKM Hero. This one is in the carbon fibre. So once we get inside and have a good look around, I can show you a few of the key features of this knife. So comes in a zip-up pouch with a little torque wrench and a leaflet about MKM. So very new to the market. Did see this first at EWA 2022, I should say, so this year's EWA. What I'm going to do now is, we'll stay while at this zoom level I can show the knife fully open. So what I'll do is just point out some of the main features. So this is a knife designed by Tommaso Rumici and produced by MKM. So it uses a backlock, referred to as an advanced backlock. Honestly, I'm not quite sure why advanced, but in order to work towards a knife that was completely ambidextrous, which is one of the key aims that Tommaso has with this design, is by going with a backlock rather than a liner or an integral lock. It means that you always know where the lock release is. It's the same either way. It has dual thumb stud, so it doesn't matter which side you open the knife, which hand you pick the knife up with. And we have a deep carry, very deep carry titanium pocket clip, and that is reversible, so you can swap it round to the other side. So one of the big advantages with fully ambidextrous, obviously the pocket clip, you pick the side, but other than that, the handling of the knife with the double thumb stud and the back lock means that in whatever task you're carrying out, we're not just talking about a handedness here and your preference. So I'm right-handed, I might naturally pick the knife up with my right hand. However, there may be instances where my right hand is engaged, busy, and not available. So by making it fully ambidextrous, then it doesn't matter that I pick it up with my non-handed hand. I think that's a big point, and say especially for those working and needing a knife. So you might find that law enforcement officers don't necessarily know which hand is going to be free. You may be carrying out a task with your handed hand and need to add a knife into the mix. So in terms of overall design, the size of the knife, it's a good size, and the intent from Tommaso was that the knife was big enough to do more or less everything you would ask of it. So obviously we're not talking about hacking down a tree, but in terms of whether or not you're just EDC tasks, or if that then extends into being out in the woods, you have a knife which is big enough to cope with most of the work you may ask of it. Going with the working knife philosophy, the handle itself is a good hand filling size. So I take XL gloves just for reference. So very comfortably I have a good handful of the handle, and it means I can work and stay comfortable. Also, with the curve here, it allows me, while using the knife, to very easily apply pressure to the back of the handle and change the way the blade is presented. Also, it's large enough that if I want to choke up on the knife and do some fine work, I can put a finger on the guard, obviously carefully not to slip onto the blade. Back to standard, and if I do want to have a little bit more work, reach or weight to the knife, because of this shaping in the handle, I can actually move my hand back even to one finger and still have a very positive grip. So what we're going to do now is zoom right in and take in a lot of the finer details. And we've now come nice and close. So here we have the carbon fibre handle inlay, and I use that word for a reason. So the Hero comes with several different handle materials. Just suggest you go and look those up in case the range of them changes. So this one's carbon fibre inlay, and the reason I say that is that, as you can see here, the bolster and liner are one piece. So in fact the handle is an inlay into a milled out section of the handle to take that, and it means with the bolster and the liner being one, it has additional strength there. So as we saw before, twin thumb stud, the titanium clip, which you can undo the retaining screws and flip it round to have a lanyard hole, solid spacer, and the backlock lever, which also has a little bit of jimping there. So if we just open that round, and you can see how the jimping on the blade and that on the end of the lock tie up so that you have good grip where your thumb is sitting. Just have a little look inside. Of course, we have a little blue highlight around the pivot. And a very good general purpose blade shape with a flat grind. Okay, so that's our first look around the MKM Hero, designed by Tommaso Rumici, and in the next section of the video we'll do the detailed technical measurements. In this section of the video we're going to take a look at all the detailed measurements and specifications of the MKM Hero, so that you can really get a feel for those critical parameters. So now the storage pouch that I had expected to just be a typical plain pouch actually does have belt loops on it. So this is a belt pouch as well. So I'm going to do the weight as weight with sheath. So that comes to 208 grams, and the knife on its own $167.6 grams. Okay, so length, folded length, and that is 129 millimeters. Widest point where folded, yep, 44.7 millimeters. Let's just do a measurement with it in the belt pouch. So that's 44.8 millimeters. Obviously it's squishy, so that's only an estimate. Overall length, that is 217 millimeters. Blade length from the front of the bezel, and that is 89 millimeters. So handle thickness, the clip is sitting on the highest point, so it's not the easiest, but it's about 14.5 millimeters. Now with the handle depth, because we have this large swell here, that's where I'll measure it, and that's 36.2 millimeters. So now we have a look at the balance point. It's just about where that scale screw is. So that is 125 millimeters from the tip. We look at blade thickness. .9 millimeters. It is flat grind. And let's take the grind length of 26.8 millimeters, and at the same point the blade depth of 31.1 millimeters. So now I'm going to measure the angle of that primary bevel. And we have 7 degrees and 30 minutes. Now we use the laser edge bevel protractor to see what the factory edge angles are. So right hand bevel is 22 degrees, left hand bevel is 25 degrees. So point angle. Appears to be 64 degrees. Thickness behind the edge is probably slightly different at the tip, but I'm going to take it at the center. And we have 0.57 millimeters. So with a sweeping handle, we have kind of a variable rake. If you're holding it in this section, it's more or less straight, but with the curving of the handle, I'm going to take a sort of an average rake reading and say that that is 15 degrees. And now the last part is to measure the factory edge sharpness. Okay, so center measurement. £193. Heel. 288 grams. And a tip. 206 grams, which is a very, very good performance. So thank you for joining me for this look over the MKM Hero and the detailed measurements we've just taken. And remember, get informed, be prepared, stay sharp.